Rejection is painful. There you are, on one side of the room, and on the other side is somebody who's been giving you some pretty obvious signs. A smile, flirty eye contact. What do? You know what you should do. You should walk on over and say, hey. You should walk over and get a conversation going. You should use your charisma and wit to create happy feelings in her brain, to build up the conversation, get a phone number, and eject before you wear out your welcome. But do you do that? Most of the time, you don't. Why? Because rejection is painful. Getting rejected will cause untold and long-lasting trauma, right? Let's explore that idea. Shall we? That belief keeping you stuck. That belief that says rejection is painful. Rejection is painful. A lot of things worth doing in life are painful. The entirety of life is a delicate balance between pleasure and pain. Rejection is painful. People like being approached and flirted with. It's the human condition. We've been doing it since the dawn of time. Why else would there be so many people on this planet? Rejection is painful. That's a painful idea to keep inside your head. Why don't you get rid of it? Rejection is painful. I recommend you reject that silly idea. Rejection is painful. How do you know? How specifically do you define rejection? How specifically do you define pain? Do you walk over there with 2 meters, a rejection meter and a pain meter, and do a double-blind academic study to prove that rejection causes pain? If you never approach anybody, how could you possibly know? Rejection is painful. People that make a ton of money selling stuff door to door don't think that rejection is painful. They believe that rejection is one step closer to pay dirt. Rejection is painful. You only think that because you've never been rejected politely. Rejection only exists inside your head anyway, and nothing is ever scary or as terrifying as you imagine that it might be. Rejection is painful. Rejection isn't painful. What's painful is living a life alone because you are too intimidated to approach and start conversations with friendly and attractive people. Rejection is painful. Rejection isn't painful. Rejection is a necessary part of life. Every time you go to the supermarket, you reject everything that you don't buy. Every time you approach one person, you are rejecting everybody else. Without rejection, life would be impossible. Rejection is painful. Have you ever been rejected and felt okay? Did you need to take a trip to the emergency room every time you went on a job interview and didn't get the job? Rejection is painful. The bigger picture is to get over this silly belief so you can live a full life filled with necessary successes and necessary rejections. Others rejecting you and you rejecting others. Rejection is painful. You reject yourself every time you decide to not go over there and share your fantastic self with people. Rejection is painful. Everybody loves to flirt and mingle. Rejection is painful. On the other side of this belief is the never-ending quest for better and better relationship partners who will all eagerly spin your propellers in fantastically satisfying ways. Rejection is painful. The most important thing to remember is that nobody can ever actually reject you. Nobody can ever truly know you, so how can they possibly reject you? They are really only rejecting the offer you are presenting to them, which says more about them than it does about you. Rejection is painful. Once you obliterate this silly belief, you'll find that approaching and starting conversations with strangers is the most fantastic hobby that you can cultivate. And it's free! Rejection is painful. You are absolutely correct. Rejection is painful and should be avoided at all costs. You should avoid any and all conversations in case you might get inadvertently rejected. You should only order water at restaurants because if you order Coke and all they have is Pepsi, that rejection would be too much to bear. You should probably never even talk to people. You might tell a joke and they won't laugh. That rejection would be too much for you. You should probably never go fishing either. You might spend all day fishing and never catch one fish. Being rejected by the fish would be too much. You should probably build yourself a plastic bubble to live inside of so you can be free from germs. Otherwise, you might catch a cold and get sick, and that's like getting rejected by the air. Rejection is painful. How can the more you approach people, the less you'll get rejected? How can the more you get rejected, the more enjoyable it will be? How can the more you avoid rejection, the more painful life will be? Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment. To learn more, please visit mindpersuasion.com.